The last few weeks have truly been incredible for real-time strategy fans like us, because not only have amazing new games been announced, but several have been released to great reviews or massive player numbers, and more than a few updated with fantastic extra content. So much so that I couldn't even fit everything into this video, and I will make another, but I will squeeze in some games on sale recommendations for you. So let's start with the hottest new game announcement from a fantasy-themed RTS whose cinematic trailer has been seen by millions of potential players by now.
Game of Thrones is one of the most beloved and iconic series of all time.
Game of Thrones: War for Westeros. Luckily for us all, the publisher, who is aggressively expanding from a mobile game background into PC games, has a capable in-house dev team, and it released gameplay screenshots and a dev blog. This footage and pictures allowed many to conclude this game not only has potential, but also looks like a spiritual successor to the type of gameplay from Battle for Middle-earth. I personally am on the fence for several reasons, first of which is the IP license, which is for HBO's original drama series Game of Thrones, and not original George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire novels, meaning this game's story and lore is an interpretation of an interpretation. Second reason that is keeping my excitement checked is the involvement of Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment, presumably because of the price and importance of the IP and license. But that same lore and world do have the potential to be a wonderful home for all the single player and multiplayer content, including great houses, their heroes with abilities, dragons, giants, and even the Night King. I will certainly be keeping my eye on this one. The next project I found recently is titled Full Scale Invasion, and it is being made by a solo indie dev. Please don't judge it too harshly on the graphics and textures shown in this preview video, as it is very early in development, but once a publisher gets behind this project, I expect it to gain a new shiny look quite fast. The main idea is that you play as an admiral/general of massive ground-to-space battles from the bridge of your own flagship, in a hybrid of RTS and RPG gameplay. In this, it might remind you of Star Trek Bridge Commander, but on the scale of Star Wars Empire at War, with a holographic desk instead of a forward big screen and crew interactions like on the Normandy from Mass Effect. This project already has a Steam page at which you can wishlist it, link down in the description of this video, along with all the other games I will be talking about. The dev's plans are for classic RTS controls and combat, with unit management, use of abilities, call-in reinforcements, but mixed with open-world exploration, customization and progression systems, as well as a single-player campaign playable from the first-person perspective and with moral choices. To say that Full Scale Invasion is an ambitious project would be an understatement, and in that regard, it is similar to another indie project which is titled The Last General. Since I mentioned this real-time modern war strategy game and its huge battlefields, thousands of units and a system of capturing enemy territory and strategic towns before, I will now show you its new gameplay trailer and talk about the progress the developer has made. The construction system for defenses, factories, and infrastructure has been redone, and fortifications, trenches, barriers, sandbags, and CRAM emplacements added. These can be built by troops on the ground or transported in. Drone warfare has been implemented for recon and FPV strikes. The overall look and visual effects of fighter jets has been improved, along with their bombing functionality, while artillery can also shoot guided missiles now and hit targets with greater accuracy. Unit paths and their production is another aspect of the game that its developer has been actively working on, so that newly produced units join the companies that need them or head to the reserve deployment area the player determined, while showing their paths when clicked on. Other visual upgrades and additions have been made in the field of destruction, craters, and projectile impacts. If you hunger for such gameplay, then you can already play a similar game, which many hundreds of thousands of players already are, as Broken Arrow is setting some serious benchmarks for the number of active players, especially in the multiplayer. There are of course some aspects of it that are not satisfactory, like missing save and load options for one. But due to its massive maps, huge number of units and high potential for customization of playable armored decks, many are just enjoying raising their ELO rating in 5v5 multiplayer matches. There are too issues like no penalty for leaving mid-match and occasionally blatant or hidden cheaters reduce the overall satisfaction with the game. Lastly, some players are finding much more enjoyment in the skirmish mode, with the recently enabled 1 and 2 player matches versus the AI, as well as the intricate scenario editor. I have posted a how to play guide with many gameplay tips if you're interested, linked up here and in the description below, and if you have some ideas on what other types of videos about Broken Arrow you would like me to post, feel free to tell me so in the comments. For now, I will keep informing you of new updates and added features in future RTS news videos, and if you are enjoying this one, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing so you don't miss my next upload. Another popular big-budget RTS many people play in multiplayer is Age of Empires 4, which is why developers keep updating and balancing it as well as adding new content. The latest such update, called Season 11, starts on July 2nd, and it's bringing challenges that can be completed for various in-game rewards. The new content is made up of a new seasonal game mode titled Chaotic Climate. It will be playable in skirmish and multiplayer, and what it does is to cycle through the 4 seasons during a match, bringing unique global effects over time, info about which you can view in your town center. In addition to this game mode, the new ranked season starts with a fresh 1v1 map pool rotation, while the AI has been updated to, for example, better defend their and their allies' wonders. As with any large patch, this one brings a lot of bug fixes, map and balance changes, most of which are civilization specific, including the ones from the latest DLC. And on the topic of an age game and DLC, Mythology Retold is getting a new DLC titled Heavenly Spear. This one is bringing the Japanese pantheon with an addition of 3 major and 9 minor new gods, and their respective fresh powers, technologies and myth units. Players have noticed a rather striking resemblance between the buildings from the previous Chinese-focused DLC and this new one, but some recycling is to be expected, especially from a highly profit-driven company like Microsoft. As for the new campaign, it will have 12 missions and focus on a hero character and her story. As you would expect, samurai and shinobi human units, as well as foxes, spiders, and club-building Oni myth units are part of the new content. Lastly, this new DLC brings 6 new maps to multiplayer and skirmish, and the Arena of the Gods will be updated accordingly. Another major new release which received a big update is Tempest Rising. Here, players asking for additional features had their wishes fulfilled, with 6 additional multiplayer maps for 2v2 and 1v1 matches, along with queuing with friends for 2v2 ranked matches and putting your names up on the 2v2 leaderboards. Players enjoying skirmish welcome the option to increase the population cap all the way to 500. In more great news, you can now chat with other players in the main menu lobby and even use the improved spectator mode with up to 8 slots for spectators. Of course, bug fixes followed by many balancing changes have been introduced in this update to both of the factions, Tempest Dynasty and GDF, to reduce the strength of some OP units and buff some underperforming units. The economy is also being reworked slowly in some aspects, like Tempest Dynasty's Harvesters. The third faction, being playable, is something we just have to wait a bit longer for. When it comes to totally new games on the horizon, I have told you about Veil of Ashes before, and because the indie developers behind it have been busy implementing and balancing final versions of their vehicles, I can show you its latest footage. Indeed, this is a real-time tactical game, and because of its lack of base building, some of you might not be interested in it, but I personally always considered RTT games just a subset of RTS games. And what could draw you into this dark steampunk theme game is its battalion editor, in which you customize hulking landships of 3 different factions, full of weapon systems and covered in massive slabs of armor. Once you're done creating, you can start blasting and fighting for strategic points in single and multiplayer battles across maps with destructible terrain. Infantry is actually going to be part of this game, even if the current footage doesn't show it, or the new UI and extra units, which are all work in progress. I hope you will wishlist this one, while I will bring you fresh news on it in the future. Yet another totally new indie RTS project I have come across is the one titled Battles of Chaos. It is set in a medieval and fantasy world, and it too mixes strategy and tactical gameplay with some base building elements like defensive walls and towers. The game already features humans, orcs, dwarves and some minor factions like elves and lizardmen, which can all fight it out in open field battles or sieges with hundreds of soldiers separated into units. The dev plans to have single-player campaign, cooperative and PvP gameplay modes with AI bots. Custom battles are also planned with a conquest-style co-op mode with players taking turns on the overall map and battling it out in real time. We should first get a demo of Battles of Chaos on Steam, followed by an early access release and later a full release. So far it looks like it has potential, but it will become more clear once we all get a chance to try it out. And one high-profile RTS we can all try out whenever we want, since it's free, just gave us all a new reason to do so, because Stormgates have arrived in Stormgate. Yes, the developers of Stormgate have reached the 0.5 version and patched in a lot of content and balance changes in one go. Creep camps got the boot, and in their stead we have Stormgates full of loot for the player who manages to deal more damage to them during their short active cycle. Another new content addition is the Edge of Oblivion map, and in the future we can expect changes to the Celestial faction. In other changes, the top UI has been removed, new skirmish mode for quick solo games versus AI made, lobby chat now allows for faster creation of new matches with friends, and the new move line drag feature is going to make commanding units feel fresh and exciting for many of us. Of course, there is more to this 0.5 version, and you can read about it in the massive patch notes on the game's website. Now, Crossfire Legion is a game title most of us have forgotten by now, but one player is refusing to give up on it, so they have started a petition to try and rally some support so that development is restarted on this sci-fi RTS title that showed good potential but was mired in bad calls by the publisher and slow response by its developer during early access. Now the game looks quite dead on both the player and development fronts, but it is still playable and has a demo if you ever want to try it out and see if it is worth saving. In that case, use the link from the description and add your name to the petition. You might not know this, but such player-driven actions have been known to spin off into completely community-driven projects. Like is the case with Skylords Reborn. This is a free-to-download and play revival of Battleforge, a multiplayer RTS/CCG crossover game by EA from 2009. The all-volunteer team has now posted its latest update in the form of the very first season, called Primordial Fire. If you complete its challenges, you can gain season points, which unlock a variety of rewards, from cards and boosters or a unique bandit team forge to new thematic cosmetics like banners, borders and new titles. The season update also brings relics as a form of new currency from the specialized relic shop. Map modifiers is another addition, which means that each week a different campaign map will be randomly selected and infected with a unique map modifier. If you haven't been aware of this community-driven project, or if you haven't played it in a long time, I hope you will use the link in the description to download it and try this new content out. As for my recommendation for games on sale, I have a whole bunch on Steam and GOG for you, as both of these stores have huge sales ending on the 10th of July. Meaning that on GOG as well as Steam you can buy Northgard, the Viking-themed base building and territory conquest RTS, which has had many updates, lots of new content and people to play with even today. Steel Division 2 is another game found on sale on both stores, and its high number of World War II units, massive battlefields and dynamic strategic campaigns have drawn in many players over the years. Similarly, SpellForce 3, with its mix of RPG and RTS gameplay in an incredibly rich fantasy world, kept its audience entertained while we all wait for the next sequel. And one game whose sequel we would all want to see but have to be satisfied with dozens of great mods is Star Wars Empire at War, which is also on sale at GOG. Another Star Wars game whose sequel I have been waiting for all my life, it seems at this point, is Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds, and I hope if you haven't played it before, you will now. On the topic of space operas, Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2 is one game I wish I had played more when it came out, since I paid full price, but at least you can now pay much less. A much older game is Cossacks 2, but it has a special charm of its own, and despite reminding of Age of Empires, its combat is so much different that you should really play it. Interestingly enough, its later sequel, Cossacks 3, is on sale right now on Steam, so depending on which you like more, you can choose right now. On the topic of third sequels, the famous or infamous Company of Heroes 3 game, depending on your opinion of it, is on sale at Steam as well. Another World War II inspired game, but which is far more praised, is Call to Arms Gates of Hell Ostfront, and despite me not finding the time to play it myself, I don't mind recommending it. On the other hand, I have played a lot of Diplomacy is Not an Option, and despite running the risk of being called a shill over it, I always warmly recommend this medieval fantasy builder because of its outrageous battles. Another game which has huge battles and survival gameplay with a lot of base building is Age of Darkness Final Stand. If you prefer more old school approaches to gameplay and don't mind old school graphics with that, then you might look into TFC The Fertile Crescent. Now, a game mixing old school gameplay and a new style of graphics is Nuke Them All, which is heavily inspired by the old Z game. Another medieval RTS, but with squad tactical gameplay and minimal base building, is the Valiant, which has a nice campaign for you to play through. Last but not least, Age of Empires 2 and its definitive edition is also on sale at Steam along with some of its DLCs. I am going to just name some games quickly, as I have mentioned them many times in previous sale recommendations in my RTS news videos, while others I have given more time to this time around. So on both GOG and Steam you can find cheap copies of Homeworld Remastered and Homeworld Deserts of Karak, Supreme Commander 1 and 2, World in Conflict, Star Trek Armada games, Dawn of War games, Iron Harvest, Populous, Stronghold games, Total War games, Warno, Halo Wars and Command & Conquer games. Now, one game I love to play and which is going to celebrate fast-tracking past 50,000 Discord members is Beyond All Reason. And while I am with my family on our summer vacation, you can join other players in an event that will be hosted by many content creators and streamed all day long on Twitch and YouTube. Developers plan to show a new map and host chaotic mega battles of up to 200 players or as many as they can until the servers have a meltdown, while at the same time giving interviews and playing versus you, their players. Please have loads of fun in my stead. A new game I noticed a while back being made by a solo indie dev is Terrors of War, and it already has a demo for you to try it out. Its lore is based on a chaotic alternate history of World War II with the addition of experimental and prototype weapons. The gameplay is designed so you have to gather resources from caches with dedicated supply vehicles and deliver them to depots while capturing strategic points on the map. This indie dev has ambitious plans to create not just story-driven campaigns for each faction, but also 4v4 multiplayer battles with leaderboards, player profiles and matchmaking. His planned Steam Workshop integration will allow players to create custom factions, maps, and even whole scenarios. Now I want to update you on the progress made by developers of Red Chaos: The Strict Order, which is set in the modern but post-apocalyptic times in which war never ends, no matter how few humans are left on the planet. They have introduced veteran status for units as a new feature, updated all the voice lines with real human actors, and made the whole gameplay more dynamic. They also plan to add special units inspired by C&C games and give their characters more personality. The Pass Challenge mode, comprising 12 missions, has been renamed into the Tutorial missions to make it clear for new players they are a good place to start learning to play this indie RTS. Terminator: Dark Fate Defiance might be a game which was launched a while back, but the devs behind it haven't stopped refining the gameplay or adding more content to it. Lately, they have announced a new DLC titled Uprising. In this one, we will get to play in a brand new strategic game mode set across a huge map. We will be able to take command of the Resistance movement, which is one of the main factions, and lead it in the fight against Legion, Cartel, and other hostile factions in a dynamic living world where our choices will truly matter. At least that is the marketing pitch. We will see how that works out in reality. You can already apply for the beta test of this DLC and test out the new units, including an assault support helicopter and specialized infantry. There is one more new game. I have received news and an update straight from the developers themselves, so I can show you new footage of Dynasty Protocol. This game will feature fleet battles, ship customization, colony management, deep space exploration, along with modular space stations, dark matter production, fleet logistics, and more. I know this list sounds like a Christmas wish list rather than a realistic one, but I don't mind the devs having high goals as long as they can keep showing us this kind of real gameplay. Here you can see their latest addition to gameplay, like mining operations, complex supply chain management, weapon upgrade system for ships, galactic trading, tech upgrades, and more. I am going to end this RTS news video with a mention of Company of Heroes 3 and its newest update called Opal Scorpion. In short, it has added 5 new maps, extensive multiplayer balance changes, some cosmetics, and a bucket full of gameplay and quality of life improvements. I won't spend my time on cosmetics, so let's move on to maps. There is Tuscan Vineyards, a 1v1 map, El Alamein and Lorraine 2v2 maps, Gable's Gap a 3v3 map, and a 4v4 map called Red Bull Express. This one was created by a community map maker. As for gameplay changes, the breaching mechanic is being tweaked in a dozen ways to make it more user-friendly, the vision range of capture points has been reduced, smoke screen deployment has been made easier, and most importantly, certain abilities and weapons will now deal full friendly fire damage, so watch out how you fight battles from now on. There are certainly more game news, fresh and updated mods, demos and playtests of great RTS games I have yet to cover, so until I get back from my vacation, feel free to post them in the comments and I will get to them in my next RTS news video. For more of my guides, previews and RTS news, check out the cards on the screen and links in the description. Thank you for watching and happy gaming!